Alright, so back to this, just another black screen video, right? This time on this game. Again, I just, again, wrapped up the game, right? Or should I say just chapter 3, right? Because that's all I've recorded, Played chapter 1 when it came out, Again, TLDR, thought it was alright. It was pretty cool because, again, had the, whole puzzle thing with the, hand grabbers, right? Up into the Huggy Wuggy encounter. Chapter 2 I really liked. Again, I liked how it expanded upon that. We got the mini games and then the face off with Mommy Longlegs, right? And then, but chapter 3 is again kind of a whole new ordeal, right? Because the big thing with this and what is we're finally getting some backstory as to pretty much what's going on, right? And it seems like chapter 4 is really going to end it all with our confrontation with the prototype. But the big thing being we now know. Well, we kind of confirmed who we are. We're, someone going back to learn about what happened, right? We learned about the owner, right? The creation of, Playtime Co. We have like an actual timeline sequence of events. Their recruitment of kids, right? And kind of, the experiments that they had on them, right? We know about basically those operations, right? And kind of the build up all into, the Hour of Joy, which was kind of the turning point initiated by the prototype, where basically all of the creatures, ended up getting set awry, and turned on, Playtime Co. staff, which again, led to the whole destroying of the facility, right? But again, specifically Playtime Co. Entertainment. Then again, we know the prototype ended up being something to where, again, they had the clean slate, clean house, right? And blank slate, and just ended up, again, getting rid of, most of the, again, creatures besides just a few loyal, disciples they could send out, such as, Huggy, Mommy, right? And then in this one, we know Catnap, right? Given that he saved his life. But unfortunately, due to Catnap's failure, killed him. But again, so, and then obviously that kind of leads to where, Poppy and Missy ultimately going against it, right? And we're kind of, we're with them, right? Again, because theories earlier were about Poppy kind of being behind everything and being the bad one. But, it seems like they're going with the prototype being the one that was kind of behind everything. Specifically the Hour of Joy. Which, again, obviously Playtime Co., I mean, they were literally basically turning kids into creatures, right? They weren't kidnapping them, but they were definitely, having some questionable recruiting methods, as well as questionable experiments, right? But then, the Hour of Joy, definitely something that also, completely, just with literally how not only killing off regardless of guilt or innocence, like we saw the two dudes, the conversation with the two dudes who were just like handling shipping and supply, right? But then again, also the fact that it didn't do anything for the creatures, other than now they starve, right? And then also, they have to deal with and contend with themselves, right? As well as the prototype. So, but again, we actually kind of now know the story for, which is something we had zero idea in chapter 1 too, right? We do know now. And again, we also had some pretty entertainment gameplay resulting from it. So again, really enjoyed chapter 3 and really think, there's no way there's anything more in chapter 4, right? Chapter 4 has got to be the end, but with, again, chapter 3 kind of, taking us to there, right? So again, really did a good job with that one, really enjoyed it. Again, so, and then the series as a whole, again, think it's going in the right direction, as well, right? Chapter 3 really kind of did justice. I really enjoyed, chapter 1 was kind of the blank slate. It was kind of like they could kind of build it however they wanted to stemming from it. Obviously, they had the whole like crypto NFT incident, but then they came out with chapter 2, which I thought was pretty good, but then chapter 3 again kind of blew it all out of the water. But yeah, we'll see where it ends up going to from here. Again, I'll be playing it, right? I guess the big thing, right, is yeah, that kind of marks, I guess, up until chapter 4 comes out, the last Poppy Playtime thing I'm going to do on this channel. And again, so that was kind of my thoughts and opinions. I don't really have much else to say. Like, I'd say the only con, one of the main cons is that we use the purple, hand upgrade a lot. but like we rarely, I think only once, literally only once we used the firearm one, and it was literally only to determine which of the catnaps were real in the catnap fight, which you didn't even need, because I realized, you know, by the end, like, all right, it has a pretty obvious outline for which one's real. But again, so the fact that they gave it to us and we like never used it was like, all right, I mean, maybe in the next part's useful, but again, in this we just didn't use it all in this part. Again, but beyond that, right? It's like, again, you know, that's really the main con. Um, I'm gonna be honest. I'm surprised that I did not need to look up a single bit of that. Like, the fact that I didn't need to look up anything pertaining to that at all is like honestly astounding and an achievement in and of itself. Like, yeah, the fact that I didn't need to look up anything is like fucking fantastic, right? So, you know, again, but yeah, that I'd say that was the main con with chapter with the thing is that like we got this, like they gave us like all these new, and we got a gas mask that we used, I think, for like one or two, you know, areas, and then it was like, again, we lost it, right? So like they gave us these things that we didn't really use throughout. The purple one we used, the purple hand we used a decent amount, right? And then they brought back some of the chapter one mechanics, right? But again, you know, it's the issue of, yeah, it's the issue of art. I mean, like we got that stuff and then just like never ended up using it. So, but that's really my only main critique or con, I'd say. Everything else, you know, did a great job on. And then now again with that, we can move on to kind of the second part of this video and what next, you know, and kind of what, you know, what I'm going to record next specifically. Because again, this was, I mentioned this at the end of the part 8, right? This was kind of an odd recording, right? Because the whole thing, and I guess big thing with this is that, yeah, you know, basically, again, the whole reason I recorded this was I took a hiatus from Reborn, right? And I had a 4-day weekend, so that's why I decided to record this. But again, the reason why I took a hiatus from Reborn is partially because I need a little break, right? But also because, again, it's the issue of I have in literally a week's time frame from today, I'm going to be gone for work for a period of like 2 weeks to where I'm not going to be able to record. I'm going to be busy doing like field work, so literally not going to be able to record. And I figured, you know, again, I didn't know what last week and this week's schedule would look like. I didn't know that I'd be getting a 4-day weekend. So I decided to, you know, pull the plug, you know, basically make the decision, all right, I'll put Reborn on hiatus. And then, you know, from there, right, I will, again, you know, just whenever that ends, right, I'll get back to it. Again, or, you know, I'll put it on hiatus. But again, it was this 4-day which inspired me to play this, right? Because I had this in my Steam library. I just never played it and figured I might as well record it. But again, I made the decision I'll put Reborn on hold and then come back to it when I get back. However, I've put some thought into it, right? And I am obviously going to come back with Reborn, right? And I'm going to come back from this and then get back into Reborn. However, there's the problem and issue of sort of, again, let's put this. So for context, right? This goes way back. When I started playing Pokemon Insurgents, right? Well, we can go way back till like 2018. And when I was only doing singles, right? You know, but let's go to 2020 period when I started the second run through of Insurgents, right? And the one where I actually beat the game off of. The big thing with that is and with that, right, is it was always a double, right? It was the second recording of the day, and that was basically the entirety of that summer of 2020. The big thing with that and how that pertains to this is I'm running into kind of an issue with Reborn, right? Basically the issue of, and more so just because I work full-time now and it's not like college where I had these large swaths of break where I'd be able to record, right? Just doubles, triples all the time, right? And then go back into campus where I'm not really able to record. Instead, because I'm working full-time, it's like, all right, I'm able to record whenever I want, just whenever I'm off work, which during the week is usually only a single, right? But then the weekend it can be a double or even potentially triple, right? But the big thing there is in kind of how it pertains to Reborn and then Insurgents back, you know, when I played through this, did the second run through of 2020, is I'm realizing just how long Reborn is, right? I'm at like 3 out of 16 gym badges, and I'm at part what? 28. So, but also not just how long it is, but how, I guess, grindy it is. One of my biggest critiques is like every 5 minutes you have a super high level trainer battle, like literally every 5 minutes, and it's like because there's a level cap. Again, it's an issue of you basically need to grind to whatever trainer battle, then just grind to the next one, right? And I ultimately don't view just playing Reborn by itself as sustainable. And what I think, would help out is if I alternated recordings, right? Alternate between that and then something else. And I'm not gonna lie, it's been a while, like I haven't really alternated recordings. But because I am, right, it's gonna be something that A is gonna be long enough to be able to kind of keep up with Reborn. B, something that is kind of safe and I know that I'd enjoy, right? And C, again, something that's not super high effort. So I'm not gonna like alternate between Reborn and Civ, not gonna alternate between Reborn and some RPG. And I came to a conclusion, right? And like again, I came to a conclusion ultimately what I wanted to record, and that was basically a DDLC mod, but one that I knew, again, like I said, was long enough and was a safe one. And what better one in hint hint, right? It's one that I had played while I was playing Insurgents, right? And played as in, again, implying that I'm replaying through. And the big thing is, again, I've decided once I come back, right, I'm going to alternate between Reborn and then replaying through Longer Roads, right? Again, Longer Roads, in case you didn't know, I played that while I was playing Insurgents in about summer of 2020. Like, it was close to the end of the summer, but that was I'd say one of like similar to like, again, it was definitely one of my favorite mods, and I've known it mostly for its Monaco route, because I don't think I played a mod that's had a better Monaco route so far. Granted, I just haven't played that many. I also still have my Monaco mods list that I could dip into, but for me the big thing is I want something to be long, because in Longer Roads, with the exception of Blue Skies, right, and then I think Branching Paths I think is up there in terms of length. But with the exception of Blue Skies, Longer Roads is definite. Like Longer Roads, Relapse, Branching Paths, some of the longest mods I played. So Longer Roads definitely, will occupy that time, right? So again, and then it synergizes as well. It's also kind of funny to think that just 4 years, or well, not exactly 4 years, but closing in on 4 years prior, I played it with Insurgents, and now I'm replaying through it with Reborn, which I can kind of justify because this isn't the first DDLC mod replay through I've done, right? That would go to A Brand New Day, which I originally played beginning of 2018, and I replayed through at the end of 2021, beginning of 2022, that like winter break. I played through New Eyes like mid to late 2018, right? And I replayed through that in like middle of 2022. So now it's 2024. I'm replaying through Longer Roads, which I originally played in 2020, right? Again, I'm not going to replay through every DDLC mod. And part of the whole reason I replayed through A Brand New Day and New Eyes was, besides being the first and favorite mod I've played, it was also just, at the time, I didn't know how short, what would you call it? I didn't know how short Our Final Heartbeat and We Are the Literature Club were going to be. So and I was also playing Amori at the time too, but yeah, crazy to think that's nearly 2 years ago at this point. But again, the big thing there, and what it kind of comes down to, and what I'm saying is that, again, this is going to be the final video that I put out for about close to a month. But once I come back, right, it's going to be alternating between Reborn and then, Longer Roads, right? I already have Longer Roads download. I made sure it worked, right? And I'll alternate literally as like one in the other, right? I'm not able to double unless it's the weekend, which what I'll do is I'll probably double during the weekend, one of each, and that seems fair to me. And it's probably going to take a hot minute to finish. But I just think, because like even with Infinite Fusion, I had to take a hiatus break, right? I had took it, once we had beaten, what would you call it? Once we'd beaten the what would you call it, Elite Four and Champion, right? Even with Insurgents, we took a hiatus. Right before we beat the Elite Four, Like we had beaten the completely beaten the main game and main storyline, but then we stopped right at the Elite Four, and then we had finished out that winner of 2020, right? But again, the big thing with that and what it kind of comes down to is for this, I just think again, if I'm already getting pissed off with Reborn, right? And I think in if I'm am actually going to be able to play this and not like drop it entirely, I need to alternate it with something. And I feel like, granted, even with that, I feel like we'll finish Longer Roads prior to Reborn. I guess if that's the case, there's other stuff I can get into, but I do think I need something, that's going to be like a definitive safe bet to start the alternating process. And I think there's nothing better than Longer Roads. So again, that's kind of my logic for that. Again, I know kind of straight off topic because again, this was about Poppy's Playtime, chapter 3, but also about, what I'm going to record since this is the last, recording I'm going to do, for a hot minute. But again, I feel that's a safe bet, and low key, I can't wait to get back into Longer Roads, right? So, but I guess with that, I don't really have anything else to say for that one. This should be it, and I guess, whenever I come back in about a month, right, I'll be alternating between Reborn and Longer Roads. But with that, that's really all I've got for this one. So, yep, that's it for this one. See you in the next one.